Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Georgie, and this is Georgie Makes. So, I guess a little bit about me. I currently live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm recording on February 21st, 2021. So, as of right now, we are still very much in the pandemic. People are starting to get vaccinated, which is great. But as of right now, the COVID cases are pretty high. So I spend most of my days at home. I'm going into the office every other day. So it seems like a great time to join this community and share a little bit about myself and a little bit about what I'm working on. So, I kind of see this podcast primarily as a way for me to document and record my knitting progress. But also, I want to show anything else that I'm working on. I think a lot of makers end up finding creativity in not just one specific medium, but in lots of things. So, showing lots of the different kinds of things that I'm making. And then also, I'm hoping to maybe make some making friends. So that's a little bit about me. But I have been a crafter for most of my life. I learned how to knit when I was in fourth grade. I had an aunt who came to stay with us for a couple of weeks, and she taught me how to purl and knit. And so I made a garter stitch scarf, and it was out of like the boa and fun fur that was popular in probably 2000 to 2010. So I have made many of those in my childhood. And then I knitted some other scarves and circle scarves in college, but really I've just knitted so many scarves before this year. And then a couple of years ago, I was taking pottery classes. So that was my big creative outlet, was pottery. Actually, I'm drinking some coffee out of a pottery mug I made, so I can show you. But I'm still learning, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to take pottery classes in a really long time because the pottery studios have been closed because of the pandemic. And so, yeah, I was basically finding myself with a lot more time at home, but not a lot of productive or satisfying ways to fill my time. So I started turning to knitting. So I actually want to tell you a little bit about this one specific thing that got me really going this year. So let me think. So on Instagram, there are all these giveaways. And I randomly entered a giveaway. I saw my college friend who is a knitter, Alex from I Run This Knit. She had shared some giveaway that Coast to Coast Yarn Co. and Sassafras Knits were doing. And so I just entered not thinking much of it, but I was kind of interested in getting back into knitting, and the yarn was gorgeous. And I actually won, which was super exciting and shocking. I got this message in my Instagram like DMs. I was like, who is this? What is this about? So anyway, I got yarn from Coast to Coast Yarn Co. In her Surrey, I believe, base, and then her fingering base, and then stitch markers from Sassafras Knits. And I've since ordered stitch markers from Sassafras Knits, but I don't actually know where the ones I won ended up. They're somewhere in this apartment, but no idea where. But with the yarn I won, I decided to try something a little bit different, and I made the Storm Shawl by Hoki Locatelli. I modified the pattern a little bit because I didn't have enough Surrey to do the full pattern, so I only did some of the short rows, not all of them. But I learned a ton. I had never done most of the things that you see in this pattern. None of the lace detailing, never done a garter tab cast on, never done a picot bind off. See if you can see the picot bind off here. Yeah, all of this was new to me, but it really got me excited about knitting. And then I got really into knitting socks. So I have knitted many pairs of socks at this point. I think in the past 6 months I've knitted 7 pairs of socks. My knit fit today, this is my daytime pajamas. So I'm not really wearing much knitting, but my daytime pajamas do include knitted socks. So I'm not flexible enough for this, but These are a pair of socks I knitted. They are the Mermaid Avenue socks by Summerly Knits, and the yarn is, I believe, sheep graffiti. I actually got this yarn out of the Winter Wishes sock swap, so I was partnered with my new friend Emily, and she sent me this pattern and this yarn, and it was incredibly thoughtful packaging, and we have kept in really good touch. So Emily is my first internet knitting friend, and I'm hoping to make some more internet knitting friends. So again, that's kind of why I'm here. Georgie Makes friends. But yes, so love this shawl. In my climate, it's not super easy to wear heavy duty knitwear, so I do like that it wears kind of like a scarf. Today it's chilly. It's probably 45, but in North Carolina, we don't have a particularly harsh or long winter season. So, yes, so this is Storm Shawl. And then I'd been knitting socks, and I'd knitted this shawl, and I saw a lot of hype about Stephen West's mystery knit along, so I decided to join and knitted Slipstravaganza. I did not finish it in the time frame, but I'm super proud of it. Yeah, the first section was these beautiful honeycombs, and then this bonus section was what I have in the purple and gray, and it really got me off the timeline because I could not finish it. And then the diamonds, and on to the border. I did the small version of the border because by the time I got to the border, I was very ready to move on. Hours and hours and hours of work went into this shawl. I don't exactly know how many hours. I think between 3 and 4 days worth of hours went into this shawl realistically, because I'm a pretty slow knitter. But yes, I believe that I put in maybe 60 to 80 hours, but a long time. So I do enjoy wearing this. Again, I can't wear it every day because it's not super cold here, but I like that it's fingering weight, and I love how much of a statement piece it is. I wear a black coat a lot of the time, so it is really nice to have something so gorgeous to wear. So those are some of the things that I have finished this year. And then right now I'm working on another couple of projects. So first I'm working on these mittens. I've never made mittens before. Again, I've never needed mittens before, but I thought they'd be fun because look at how cute the cuff is. It's so adorable. So I just finished my first cuff. So these will be, what are they? The World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. I knitted her, or their, I think it's more than one designer, but I knitted their barley hat recently in the same material. So this is Simply Wool by Knit Picks. It's worsted weight. It is 100% eco wool. Most of what I have is actually superwash, so this was a little bit prickly for me, but I do love the natural look to it, and I thought that my hat would look cuter if it had some mittens to go with it. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then I also have a large project on the needles. So I'm working on the Weekender Light by Andrea Mowry. I saw Natalie from Knitty Natty was making one a while ago, and I have been looking for a good recommendation for a first garment pattern, and this one was recommended along with a few others, but I had gotten this large skein of yarn. This is actually it broken up and what I have left, but it's a Katahdin from Miss Babs in the color Krill. So it's a kind of lighter fingering weight yarn, and I wanted to make a garment that would show off the yarn and flatter me, something I could see myself wearing in this color, and keeping in mind that a fingering weight sweater is a pain because it's taking me forever, but anything heavier I don't really see myself wearing, especially here. So I decided on the Weekender Light, and it has been a lot of new techniques to me, just like Slipstravaganza. I have learned a ton. I've never made a garment. I have been nervous the whole time I've made it that it's not going to fit me. I I swatched and I didn't get gauge on any needles, so I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. But I'm at I don't know the best way to show this, but I've reached, this is kind of what you knit it inside out. But this is what the front will look like, and I am binding off the neckline now. So I've made a ton of progress. I was hoping to get this done while it's still winter, so I've been working on it a lot. But I did some short rows for the shoulders, and I made like a huge mistake, and I had to figure out how to fix that. And so this has been a good learning experience for me, and I'm hopeful that with the ease that the pattern has in mind, it will flatter me even if it doesn't fit in the way it's intended to. So those are the main projects I'm working on. I also I want to be knitting a sock, but I have a sock that's kind of in timeout. So this is my poor little sock. He doesn't have a needle anymore. But I did make some socks for Valentine's Day that were Knit Picks Felici, and they striped and had some pinks and blues in them. But I love this pink color. A lot of my yarn was gifted to me by my mom for Christmas. She's not a knitter, but she had a good eye for color, and I sent some ideas of what I would be interested in. But she got me this yarn, and it is Knit Picks Hawthorn fingering weight, and I think the color is Burlingame. But it's a pink. It's not showing up great on camera. It's pretty bright. But it has all of these flecks of other colors in it. So it's got like purples and blues and oranges and greens and yellow tones. So I wanted to make a sock that was more textured, that could show off the variation in this. And I thought, oh, I'll do a pearl texture and I'll make a pattern myself. So I tried knitting it and it did not work. And I noticed, I was like, not only is my stitch count off, but I'm not even doing the pattern right. And if I did it right, it wouldn't look the way I wanted it to. So I pulled it all back. And then I started it this way, and I did like seed stitch. And with I knit with the yarn in my right hand. So seed stitch is pretty tedious. And I was like, I'll transition from seed stitch to kind of in between seed stitch and stockinette, and then eventually finish out the foot in stockinette. But I started the transition, and I did not like the way it looked. So I pulled back a little more, and now then in order to bind off for my weekender, I needed my size 2 circulars. So I had to take them out, because this yarn is actually a pretty heavy fingering weight. So I needed to borrow my needles. So I took them out of this project, and now it has no needle. And I have DPNs I could put it on, but I find DPNs are fine when you're knitting stockinette and very challenging for me to balance when I have to go back and forth between knitting and purling so much. So that was a no. So right now he's just gonna hang out. But if anyone has any ideas for a great textured sock that isn't as tedious as seed stitch, or any other ways to transition from seed stitch to stockinette and it look cool, really anything, ways to inspire yourself once you have taken a favorite yarn and gotten frustrated with it twice, just let me know. But for now, he's gonna go right back on the shelf with his little friends that are already caked up. So I think that's everything I'm knitting on right now. I don't have too many projects going at a time, because again, I want to finish what I'm working on while it's still in season, because mittens and sweaters are quickly going to be out of the picture here. So that's what I'm working on now. But in terms of other making, I did want to share that I have been journaling some. So years ago, I had a bullet journal. It was in this book. This is a moleskin that I got in 2017, I think, and it is now 2021. So I used it a little bit when I got it, and then I used it some in 2018, and then I just fell out of the habit. but I had paper planners for the past couple of years, and then I thought there's no way I'm buying a planner for 2021 because I don't have any plans. So no, I'm not paying for that. And so then it was the end of December, and I wanted to write down something. And I was like, oh no, I need something. So I did set up my old bullet journal again. Kind of my thing is, if I'm not into it anymore, I'm not going to do it anymore. There's no reason to force myself to do stuff like this. This is a creative outlet. But I did set up 2021. This is kind of my spread. And then I'm not a perfectionist with this kind of stuff. The idea is really just to have a way to write things down. But I did go to a big box store and get a bunch of discounted Valentine's decorations. So February got a little bit louder. But I've been having some fun with this. So after this call, and this week was more simple. But after this video is over, I'm probably going to set up my next week's and put in my 0 plans, but all my to-do lists. And then another thing I like to make is I like to bake. So I haven't been baking too much lately, but I have some leftover box chocolates, and I got new chocolates at Valentine's Day. And so I think I'm going to chop up the ones I don't like that much and mix them into chocolate chips to make chocolate chip cookies, but with the box chocolates of the candies I don't like as much. So the butter is on the counter now, so hopefully I'll be able to get that done today too. So that's kind of what's going on with me. And then I guess just to briefly share some of my goals. So I've been trying to be intentional about not setting goals in knitting. I find that in my professional life, I spend a lot of time having exact tasks I need to accomplish and to-do lists, and it's not fun. I enjoy accomplishing tasks, but it's not really creative for me. So with a hobby, I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional about slowing down and doing things for fun, whether I'm good at them or not, and not making it about the output, not making it about monetizing your hobby or anything like that. So for me, the knitting is really just the enjoyment of maybe picking out the project and actually doing the knit stitches. I like sitting and knitting and learning something new. But I'm really trying to resist deadlines on projects, so I can feel myself oh, wouldn't it be nice to have this sweater done by this day? But if I don't hit that day and I'm disappointed, I don't want to take away the joy of knitting or the fact that I did finish a garment. So really trying not to do any hard deadlines or goals with knitting. Kind of my better way for me of thinking about these goals are, what are some new techniques I might like to try this year? I wanted to learn how to knit a garment this year, and that's what I'm working on now. And I want to learn lace, and I want to learn brioche, and I've actually never knitted cables, which seems like I probably am very capable of doing that without too much stress, but watch it be really hard. So I'm kind of thinking about it in those terms. So that's what I'm looking ahead to do. There's some green on my shelf behind me that I really want to make into a nice summery top. And then there's a lot of single beautiful skeins up there that I want to make into all of the socks. So that's kind of what's going on with me. And I hope to record again in a couple of weeks and share any updates I have and what's going on next. So if you have any ideas for my sock situation, please comment below. But otherwise, feel free to introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about what you like to make, and maybe I will make some friends. So have a great day.